reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
Hi, I'm Fernando Paz. I'm the executive producer for Dungeons & Dragons Online, and we are here showing off Update 11, which is our biggest update of this year, and is coming out very soon on September 12th. So got a lot of fun stuff to show you, including a new class being added to the game, and a new high-level adventure pack that includes 2 raids that our players are going to be really excited about.
Awesome.
Cool, so I guess first and foremost I want to show off our new class because it's a really exciting addition to the game. The Artificer is the new class that's coming with Update 11. For those that don't know, Artificers are a Eberron-specific class. They're not part of the original source material. They were added with the Eberron campaign setting. And they're really fitting for the story we're telling with this update, which is all about the Artificers and House Cannith, which is the dragon-marked house, basically the powerful society of Artificers that has created all the great technology that you see in the world of Eberron. Basically the cool things that make Eberron Eberron, like the airships and the Warforge and some of the power crystals and floating platforms that give Eberron its unique feel as a setting, were created by the Artificers and by House Cannith. So in this update we get to explore a little of the backstory of those things.
Let's take a look.
Cool, so the Artificer, this is my Artificer. Her name is Hack. She's really cool, and she's a good demonstration of some of the cool abilities of the Artificer. So they are a little bit of a jack-of-all-trades type of class, sort of like a bard, right, where they do a little of various different things and not so much just deep on one thing. In the case of the Artificer, they actually mix a lot of cool different things together. They get some rogue abilities. They are only the second class in the game to be able to use the disabled device and open lock skills. But unlike the rogue, they don't get evasion, they don't get sneak attack bonuses and things like that. So they do play very differently. They also have a little dash of Arcane Caster in them. Actually, not just Arcane, mostly Arcane spells they get a sampling of, notably the ability to repair damage or inflict damage on constructs is something that they're very strong with. They also have a few other spells that aren't necessarily arcane, like Blade Barrier, that they get at higher levels. And some unique spells. Notably, one thing that they have the ability to do that no other class in DDO can do is imbue items with magical powers, which in practical terms means that they can buff your weapons or your armor. So for example, I'm wearing right now this crossbow, which is a pretty cool crossbow, and I'm able to buff that crossbow with a special ability. So you can see the tooltip there before I do anything, and then let's say I want to add frost damage to my crossbow. Now if you look at my crossbow, it actually has frost weapons as a buff, and this is a temporary buff on the item, not on myself. So that's the first time that we can do that. If I switch to another crossbow here in my inventory, this one doesn't have that buff that I just applied to my other crossbow, and maybe I want to apply acid bonus to this one, and it'll behave differently. So similarly, armor or other gear, weapons and armor primarily, are things that this class can buff. So they're an excellent support class from that point of view. While the bards and the other casters are busy buffing your party, you can do that same thing and buff all their weapons and armor. So it really is a totally separate buff that's going to stack with everything else that you're doing as a party. So on top of that, they are also DDO's first pet class. So one of the cool things about Artificers is that they build their own pet, what's called a homunculus, basically a fancy word for their created pet, which is an Iron Defender. So let's go ahead and call my Iron Defender. So this is Scrappy. He is my Iron Defender. I've had him since level 1 and grown him and customized him. So pets are a little bit different from other things in the game. We've had summon monsters and things like that in DDO before, but a pet is different because I can control him. If you look here on screen, you see that he's got a control bar similar to a hireling. But unlike a hireling, this is a character that I have customized. So I can view my pet's character sheet and look at his stats. I can also slot certain kinds of gear on him. For example, if I slot this docent on him, it'll actually change his appearance. You see he gets the sort of red racing stripes on here. He also has a weapon module slot, which is a special thing only for the Iron Defender homunculus. For example, you might be able to get a fire breath weapon module. And when I slot that on him, He's going to use that ability on his own AI, so you don't have to tell him to use it, but also I'll be able to put that on the hotbar over here so that I'll be able to control it myself. Likewise, as I level up, every time I take a level in Artificer class, I will be able to get new enhancements for my pet that I'll be able to customize him. In the case of Scrappy here, he is customized to tank, so he has the best armor, the most hit points, things like that, the ability to intimidate or trip, so that he can distract people, because I'm a ranged build and I want to stay back and heal him and then shoot people from afar. That's how I'm playing my Artificer. Though you can also do him as a melee type and buff your weapon and armor and go right in and tank, right? You could do it that way, and that works too. We've got players having fun picking and choosing between those two different paths. So they really have a lot of cool new things about them. The pet is one important one, and important to our players too, because our players have been wanting things like, say, the Druid. This is another important building block that is going to let us do the Druid sometime in the future. I'm not going to commit to a date, but sometime in the future, we're one step closer now with the creation of the pet mechanics here. One other cool thing that they get to do is use a special offhand weapon, which is sort of this cool bracelet thing that you see on my left arm. So I can start charging that. That's called a rune arm. And you can see that as it charges up, more parts of it will light up, and I have a little bar here to measure how charged up I am. If I fire it at fully charged, in the case of this rune arm, it fires 5 projectiles, whereas if I just let it charge to the first tier, I'm only going to get 1. So it's something that I'm going to be rewarded if I manage to stand still long enough to build up my charge and then fire off my weapon. But if I walk, my charge quickly dissipates, right? And I'm going to need to charge it up again. Also, while I'm charging the rune arm, my movement is a little bit slowed, and there's a few other penalties. But importantly, it's completely separate from my main attacks and spells. So I can be firing with my crossbow or casting a spell over here, and then at the same time firing my rune arm, and they're totally independent of each other, which is a really nice thing. So essentially, this is the first class that can dual wield range weapons, which is a really fun thing. The rune arm is totally exclusive to the Artificer. No one else will be able to use them. You'll find those in end reward lists throughout the game, so that you can pick and choose your rune arm as you're leveling up.
Very cool.
So that is the Artificer in a nutshell. Now I'd like to take you inside House Cannith. House Cannith is the Society of Artificers, like I was saying before. So they are the guys that have created all the cool technology in the world of Eberron. Here I am in the marketplace, by the way, near where players might be used to finding the catacombs. The catacombs just scooted over a little bit and made room for the gates here for the new House Cannith Enclave to Stormreach. So it's been a long time since we added a dragon-marked House Enclave. In fact, I don't think we've really done it since launch. So it's a pretty exciting thing. Because they are responsible for all this great technology in the world, they are also pretty fabulously wealthy. They are very well-off faction here. So you'll see this is a very opulent area. Really nice work that our artists did in creating this. So you can see a lot of the examples of their technology. And also we have some new technology in our game engine, which you can see here too, in the form of these moving platforms. So this is technology that we've added to the game. You can imagine us doing all kinds of fun stuff with this in the long term. Right now we're just having a little bit of fun with it. And this is a good way to view the House Enclave and see what's going on. The bull is the symbol of House Cannith, so you'll see the bull all over the place. Here at the center of the Enclave here is this big tall building, which is the House Cannith Manufactory. It's sort of their main factory and central offices here in Stormreach, and also a place where they have a few secret research projects or ancient artifacts hidden. And in fact, that's sort of the storyline here. We're exploring the backstory of the Warforged and House Cannith, and in particular, a very special Warforged called the Lord of Blades, which for those players that know the Eberron source material, they know that the Lord of Blades is a very important character in the Eberron setting. He is very known in the WotC lore, source books, comic books, novels, all that sort of stuff are places that you've seen the Lord of Blades before, and so we're excited to get him into our game. So Lord of Blades is like the biggest, baddest Warforged you've ever seen, right, in the whole world of Eberron. In fact, he's a demigod, basically. The Warforged in Eberron, and in fact in DDO, can worship the Lord of Blades as a deity. If you choose that as an enhancement line, you will actually gain benefits from that and improve certain aspects of your Warforged character for worshiping the Lord of Blades. And that's something we've tried to keep in mind as we're building out this storyline, where he's coming over and taking over the House Cannith manufactory, and basically he's trying to destroy all the fleshy races. Anyone who's not a Warforged, he basically says the Warforged are treated like second-class citizens. House Cannith, who created us, doesn't even give us a fair shake. So let's just kill everybody. Kill them all. It's a tried and true villain attack. And he thinks he's got a way that he's going to do that here in the House Cannith Enclave by taking over this ancient artifact that's at the bottom, hidden at the bottom of the manufacturing. Also, on the other extreme, there's this guy over here, Tobin the Cannith. Tobin the Cannith is a guy who used to run the House Cannith Enclave here in Stormreach. He was in charge, but he's no longer in charge for two important reasons. One important reason is he let the Lord of Blades take over his main building, so that didn't go over well. But also his reaction to that was to say, well, if the Warforged are going to behave like this, I got a way to fix it. I have a device that's going to lobotomize all the Warforged here in Zendrik. It's powerful enough that it's going to basically remove the sentience from the Warforged. Who needs sentience constructs? Isn't it better when they do what we say? That sort of feeling. So that's on the far other extreme. He wants to basically destroy all the Warforged, which the leadership of Cannith wisely recognized was not a good political move, since a large number of the citizens of not just Stormreach, but Zendrik and Eberron in general are Warforged, so that probably wouldn't go over well. And so they have taken him out of power, but what will happen over the course of this content pack is he'll eventually say, okay, I'm going to take my plan into my own hands and put it into action, and we'll be able to fight him and his followers too. So this is going to lead to the two raids I was talking about before. The Master Artificer raid, where we'll face off against Tobin and his followers, takes place at level 19, and then the Lord of Blades raid, where we fight him and his Blade Sworn, who are the Warforged that he's taken into his keeping and upgraded in his own way. That's the level 20 raid, which is at the end of this adventure pack. Both of those raids share a unique crafting system for the treasure that you get out of the raids. It's very deep for those players that know the game and know the end game. It's sort of similar in spirit to the green steel that you craft in the Shroud, which our players still do because it's such a deep system and the weapons get so powerful. This is our version of that, hopefully, for level 20 characters. So if we have a moment, I'd love to show you the Lord of Blades, so let's go ahead and jump in.
Absolutely.
All right, so as the characters are making their way through this quest, they will first come to this room where they can get a peek at the ancient quarry creation forge. That's that artifact I was telling you about. Again, for players familiar with DDO, the Quarry is another faction in the game, also called the Dreaming Dark, and figures prominently in the Dreaming Dark adventure packs that we also have near the end game. So this is sort of tying together with that. So the history of Eberron is that the Quarry, who didn't always used to be evil, but the Quarry created this technology, such as this creation forge, that power the Warforged, and were able to bring the Warforged to life back in the day. So Cannith was very smart. They discovered this technology, they sort of productized it, and then mass-produced the Warforged for the last great war in Eberron, and that's sort of how the Warforged race came about, and where all these characters that are Warforged today come from, is from that original technology, and then House Cannith harnessing it. So they've been using this technology for a long time, but most members of House Cannith don't really even know that this creation forge here is in the basement. But the Lord of Blades figured it out, and he's come here with his followers to take over the creation forge and try and harness its power. So in this room you can see him and his most trusted followers there at the bottom. You can also see some of these pillars that are powering the creation forge, similar to what some of the players saw if they did the Warforged Titan raid back around level 10 or 11.